So the Mandalorian Season 3 gallery just released today, and with that we got potentially a few new looks at some deleted scenes and some of the inside info on how they make the Mandalorian Season 3 and just the scale of it. I watched the entire thing, and I kind of just want to talk about some of those key points and how they made it, along with potentially those deleted scenes. Before we take a look, I have a big announcement for you all, and that is I'm introducing the Bismo Show, which will be a weekly live stream podcast. It'll be coming soon, and we'll be talking all things Star Wars, anime, film, and just whatever else we feel like talking about. We'll have special guests on there and more. I'm super excited. But yeah, let's get started taking a look. I mean, it basically just starts off with Jon Favreau, the creator of The Mandalorian, talking about his process, how, Dave Filoni gets involved, and the various directors in there. I didn't realize that Carl Weathers, the actor that plays Grief Karga, also directed the episode where we get to the Grogu flashback with the Jedi Kelleran Beck, and yeah, he directed all of that, which is really interesting in itself. I especially enjoyed the segment where Jon Favreau talked about the mythosaur and how it kind of originated that lore in Star Wars, how it really was just an image on Boba Fett's armor that has evolved over the decades to have a deeper lore that even, they're pulling from kind of more fan fiction and legends material, incorporating that in the Star Wars canon itself. It's cool that they pulled from that. However, the reasoning to keep the mythosaur, mysterious, and we don't see it much in this season, is mostly soundproof, but we just don't see a whole lot other than those couple of scenes. So hopefully in season 4 we'll be able to see the mythosaur in action in some way, shape, or form, though, or just in the future. Another interesting segment was with Katee Sackhoff, the actor who plays Bo-Katan, just kind of talking about the evolution of her character and being first casted as the voice of Bo-Katan in the Clone Wars, and then getting that call to come back and play her in live action, and just that transition and that acknowledgement of season 3 kind of having a bigger focus with her, obviously, and there's more than one Mandalorian. The Mandalorian is now a meaning of more than one thing, even though Djarin is still our main character. And towards the end of the gallery, they kind of throw together a little montage of some scenes, and included in that are what looks to be some cuts that were taken out from some of the episodes, and we can see in episode 5 where Bo-Katan puts her arm on Din when they have that big moment between them. I don't believe we see this in Bo-Katan's speech in that episode at any time, and it's kind of concerning that they take out that physical contact between them when it would have made sense anyway. Yeah, I'm just not sure what the reasoning was to delete some of these extra scenes. I know there was a scene with Moff Gideon acknowledging the death of his clones, but that was also removed, and the finale was already short as is, so it just doesn't really make sense to remove some of this content as is, especially with the development of Bo Din. I mean, just that more physical contact, because there's already been physical contact between Bo and Din at that point. But as much as I give the season 3 of The Mandalorian slack at sometimes, you really get to appreciate just the scale and the amount of work everyone put into this. I mean, they really did care about this, and being able to see the behind the scenes, reminds us of that, of how much work they put in, making the actual props, like the weapons, and just for all the aliens and a lot of the sets they're building, almost the entirety of the set with minimal CGI, especially with how they did the Mines of Mandalore. And then the director of episode 3, where we revisit Coruscant, him kind of talking about Revenge of the Sith and how he looked at that movie to see scenes of the opera scene with Anakin Skywalker to kind of impact how he was going to show and to make it a similar feeling to that. I really appreciate hearing things like that, just showing that these directors do put in a lot of work and do care about keeping Star Wars, the continuity between all these different shows and movies. And just cool seeing the care for the lore that is had, and that they're obviously big fans of Star Wars that want to be working on The Mandalorian, compared to, say, Andor, where Tony Gilroy is out there saying he's not a Star Wars fan and doesn't even like it at all anyway. And speaking of that hard work that goes behind the scenes, the puppeteers that, run Grogu and just all the droids, there's so many different puppeteers going on. And there's that one scene they talked about in the droid bar where there's over 20 droids, and they had people on 2 to 3 puppets at once, which is just crazy. So a lot of work there. And I like how it turns out. I think they could use CGI more for some scenes with Grogu, but it does make a more unique feel. And I do like that they have kind of kept to a lot of their bread and butter with using more props. That's kind of always been a Star Wars thing, using, models and props and puppeteering versus, like a Marvel movie where if you look at their sets, it's just a CGI background for just about everything. I mean, have you seen the Secret Invasion premiere numbers? They're nowhere near Mandalorian season 3. There's another perspective on just the Jack Black and Lizzo scenes, basically talking about how they got their roles due to how much they promoted the show on their own and just kind of having a big following. It seems that they kind of, due to their enthusiasm, they got their roles, and it looked like Jack Black was having a lot of fun. So you appreciate that more, even though that episode was a bit iffy at times. You can have more fun with it now, looking at it from that perspective. And then we get Giancarlo talking about Moff Gideon, and then at the end he kind of gives an open-ended answer that Gideon might not actually be dead, and we might see there's some other cuts there that might not have been used, some deleted scenes in the background as well, and him just kind of saying, his character does meet a demise, but because it's Star Wars, it's kind of open-ended, and you never know if a character is going to rise from the ashes. Somehow Gideon returned. But I mean, what if one of his Force-sensitive clones, what if he had some clones elsewhere that he was making and one of them emerges in a later season? I could see that potentially happening. And then it kind of finishes off at the end with Favreau talking about the things he learned while making it and where season 3 ends. And as far as Din's journey of where, maybe we expected to become the leader, but it just was never him to begin with, like just how he was struggling with the Darksaber and all that. But then he kind of talks about how, maybe how one story ends, another one kind of opens, and we get set back to where we were, and there's more adventures, more stories to be told. And Dave puts it in a good way. He says it might seem like the ending to one adventure, but it's always the beginning to another. Hinting at season 4 and his Heir to the Empire movie and Ahsoka, where maybe we can see a lot of these other characters interacting more, and obviously we'll see more Din Djarin and Grogu in the future. But yeah, I would recommend checking out the gallery on your own. You got some time. It's about an hour long, and it gives some pretty cool insight. And again, you just appreciate more the work that's done on a show of this scale, and just how many sets they build and how many moving parts it takes to really make an episode of The Mandalorian, let alone a season. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown, this little sum up of the Mando season 3 gallery. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more videos. Can we get to 10K by the end of the year? We'll see. The Bismo Show, a weekly live stream and podcast, is coming soon. Check out the community channel to go vote on what time we'll be doing it, but it looks like it's probably going to be on Thursday evenings. Yeah, for the plans I have for the podcast is obviously we're going to be talking all things Star Wars, what's going on, maybe who's casted as a character for a show. We'll obviously be discussing the current shows that are going on, so we'll be talking about Ahsoka and the lead up to it, maybe some Ezra Bean action, obviously BoDin, some anime stuff, other nerdy stuff out there, other shows, and we'll be having guests appear on there and just kind of have a good time. I've been wanting to do this for a while now, and the streaming has been a bit inconsistent on the channel, so I thought it'd be a good time to finally start the official Bismo Show to get more consistency for you guys and just a place to hang out and really build the community more and get more involved in talking to the viewers of the channel. But yeah, and I would hope to start that in a couple weeks, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys later.